underneath my Christmas tree. I don't know.
You're underneath my Christmas tree.
I don't know. Imagine you open a box, Matthew Mercer, J. Michael Tatum. What are you doing in my house? I was your birthday.
What are you doing in my house?
Melanie, you're really gonna love this present. What? Two of your favorite voice actors wrapped in a box. Right? One half.
Really good hair.
Yeah. One happens to be in. You know what's funny? I love that J. Michael Tatum and I have the same birthday.
Oh, you have the same birthday?
Yeah, yeah. I told him one time, he's like, you look exactly the same age as me. And he's like, not really.
It's like, I don't know what the compliment is.
Yeah, I was like, you're a funny guy. You're a funny guy.
Oh no, Tatum is a ball buster. Definitely.
Matthew is just dancing away. I love him as Levi. He's so good. And Sinbad is amazing. I just got obsessed with Moggy. Yeah, I'm gonna be like freaking J. Michael Tatum when he started doing FMA from I'm gonna be like, can you say a voice for that? But we're working together. I don't care. Say something. J. Michael has given me that opportunity now. I can be a little bit nerdy around him when I am serious. If I am working. Greg, is Greg supposed to be here?
I'm sorry.
Is Greg, or no, George? Greg.
He's supposed to be here, yeah. He's supposed to be here, definitely.
Yeah.
He's not here yet, but he's supposed to be.
Running a little late. It's been a morning. I think that's him. Or look at him.
Oh, there we go.
Harvard University. There you go. I think he's running.
Good morning, holiday Matsuri. Yeah, about like that. I'm tired too. Can we try one more time, maybe? If we don't get any better, cool. If we do, awesome. How are we doing this morning? That's a little better. Okay, so you are here. We'll go with it. It's early. Yeah. So we're here all for the voice actor panel.
All voice actors.
All voice actor panel. This is every single voice actor we have in the building right now. Alright, so we'll start from this side and work our way over. First up, you know him as Leon Kennedy is his big one right now. Matt Mercer.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Awesome. Consciousness comes to us all eventually. We're almost there. But yeah, thank you all for having me. I'm excited to be here, and let's prepare ourselves for an awesome panel.
Yeah.
Next, the voice of Space Ghost,
George Lowe!
Setting levels, I know I must accommodate my audio friends. Ooh, Daddy and Mikey, a little more, please. A little more, a little more, a little more, a little less, a little less, a little more, a little more. Thank you. I know. I'm sorry, I taught him how to kegel earlier. He hadn't been the same. He's over practicing his special exercises. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for asking me. Lovely to see you all.
Too early for that. Last and least, I mean, what? No! No, my doppelganger and yours, J. Michael Tatum.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. It's noon. It's a good part of the day where we all just got up like an hour ago.
Yeah.
Who had Krispy Kreme this morning?
I
It's not to be you. No, I mean, we had Krispy Kreme. It was really awesome. Thanks for coming.
I had
All
it.
right.
So what are we here for?
We're doing a Q&A, I guess. So what we'll do is we'll start fielding questions. Whoever hand I see first. Not yet. When I say go, that's when you put your hands up.
You didn't say that.
I know I didn't say go.
You didn't explain that.
I'm explaining it now. Anthony, sit down.
Next time.
I know,
Girls, you're both
Anyway,
prom,
so
okay?
we'll start taking questions. We'll run a mic out to you. You can ask them anything within reason. Within reason.
Everyone's like, oh.
You France raped Leon Kennedy?
Yeah, really protect us.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start. So ready, go! And over here. Hey, listen well.
This question's for Matthew. What was going through your mind when you were eating that ghost pepper for that one interview that you did?
Okay, for those who aren't aware, I did an appearance on a web show called Hot Pepper Gaming, where you do game reviews while after eating an extremely hot pepper. And you have 2.5 minutes before they give you milk. So I did a review for that one. And what was going through my head was my mortality. If I had achieved the goals I wish to achieve with my time on this earth. And all the things I'll regret going forward, like eating that pepper. No, I don't eat hot, spicy food really at all. I've never had even a jalapeno before, so I didn't really know what I was in for. And I had a ghost pepper, because I'm a smart person. I do smart things. The pepper scale,
It's what do they call that thing? The pepper scale.
it's Scoville units. Scoville.
Well done.
And
What do we have for him, Johnny?
habanero, I guess, runs about habanero is about 300 to 400,000 Scoville. Ghost pepper is about 1.2 million. Wow. So to answer your question, hot death and regret.
Okay, but I do have a question about the so-called scale. Like, was there just some dude named Scoville who ate every pepper and was like, okay, that's about a 10?
I hope so.
Like, is there some poor guy named Scoville out there that's had
Here's
everything?
one I found in Lindsay Lohan's hamper. 9,000 pepper. And let that be a lesson to you kids. Never eat a hot pepper out of Lindsay Lohan's hamper.
Okay, so next question, ready, and go. You can't cheat and have your hand up before I say go. The hat over there, the beret. What?
Me?
Not her, the one over there. Santa!
No?
Santa!
Which one?
Over there.
Which one?
Her.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Santa Senpai is noticing you now.
I said red hat.
I'm colorblind.
Color black.
Okay, the first time, what do you think of Cracker Kraken in the show, The Powerpuff Girls? The first time you ever saw the show on What a Cartoon and on your show, and what do you think of the show, The Powerpuff Girls, now?
What? The anime. What are you talking
Is that for all of us?
I'm asking, pardon me, I'm asking George Lowe.
Oh hell, let me pick the mic up. I was just remembering a favorite episode of Leave It to Beaver where Wally was making his own crack in the garage. It said BRBE, it was Breaking Beaver. Anyway, I'm sorry, what was the question? What?
Oh my gosh. Oh my
When
god.
you first saw
Yeah, I forgot the question already. It happens. That's what happens when you get older, kids.
All right. Did you do the episode when they showcase all the new cartoons? Like Cracker Kraken showcases his show, The Powerpuff Girls. So what did you think of his show when it first aired on your show? And what do you think of the show now?
You know, of course, having the first original piece of programming on the network, when you start a sentence that way, it's just immediately slamming everything else, isn't it? I didn't even have to say everything else sucks other than Space Goes to the Brack Show and the stuff I do. No, they went in different directions. I think there were actually fumes leaking in the building when they didn't renew my deal. I think some of them were having toxic reactions. Ted actually had chemicals that he would mix in his office, and sometimes the fumes would leak into the hall, and that's actually how Space Ghost started. They would have toxic fumes leaking out, and oh boy, I'm just not getting anywhere fast. Anyway, I think there's a hair on the windscreen too. Who's in charge of getting the windscreens combed before the actual performance? No, it's a dandy place to be, and a dandy bunch of folks, and everything they do is just super. Hollywood answer number 32.
Okay, so
At number 7, it's Insincere Answer with George Lowe. I always enjoyed everything I did working with them. And now, on with the countdown.
next question, ready, go.
Got it this time.
This is for Jay and Matt. What are your thoughts about Attack on Titan Season 2?
Yes. Sooner.
Make it good and make it last because we're tired.
I think we were so excited that our characters lived. Because you ask just about everybody else on the cast, what do you think about season 2? They're like, oh. Because they didn't make it. But Aaron's mom, poor thing, didn't even get past the first episode. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool. I work as an adaptive writer on the series too, so I kind of get a little insight of what's coming and where the show's gonna go and who's gonna lose things. So what? I said nothing. Stop spoiling it. I'm excited. I mean, it's an intense experience. I'm a little trepidatious to start it over again because it was really. I mean, from an acting standpoint, it's crazy. I was doing a panel with Lauren, who plays Annie, and with Chris Smith, who plays the guy that bites his tongue all the time. But yeah, I can never. I was going to call him Oreo. I love that character, but I always get the name wrong. But we were talking together, and Chris Smith brought up this wonderful thing about how really hard it is to work on a show like that, especially when you see some of the things that you become attached to these characters and to your fellow cast members because you become family, especially when I'm working on a show that intense, because it's very, I don't know, it's like being stuck in a burning building or something with a bunch of people. You get close very quickly. And right, and so it was really intense. And like one character would die, and you'd be there for the studio in the studio the day where you're like, you see Caitlin Glass walking out of the studio crying. You're like, oh my God, did you record that scene? Oh baby, hug. So it's not like, yay, I'm gonna work on Titan today. It's like, okay, gonna work on Titan today. Slap my face, and then go in. So it's fun to work on, but it's as an actor, it's also a little like it takes a lot out of you. Yeah. Because it's an intense show. There's not a lot of comic relief in a show like that. Not a lot of little quiet romantic moments. You can be like, okay, fine, awesome, a scene with no screaming. Nope. There are a lot of scenes with screaming. So I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm happy for the break.
Yeah, even so, the break's still a little long for me too. I've only just announced season 2, and it's coming out like the year after next, I guess, at some point. I'm like, okay, I guess I better read the manga then. Time me over. As 2 years of possible spoilers come my way, I gotta read up now.
2 years of eating.
See, there you go.
And in our business, when a character dies, you go do hemorrhoid commercials. What's the cream called again? Okay, all right. How much does it pay?
Attack on Titan hemorrhoid cream. Nope.
In new butterscotch flavor.
For when you get your next colossal titan.
when your Walmaria gets broken down.
You brought that!
I'm just picturing a hemorrhoid commercial now. You're fighting this giant
Can we record this? Because this is fucking
Oh my God.
Okay. We have like a PG-13 above us now.
I do not own the rights to Attack on Titan.
You have to be this tall to be this fat.
All right, so next question, ready, go.
Now they get a break.
Over there holding the one with the, yeah, you. Yes, we know the right shoe. Right shoe.
I'm on the way.
Hurry up, Santa Senpai.
I'm getting there.
Why did you go
Okay, so you've done a lot of roles, you've done a lot of for characters, commercials, whatnot. Through your experiences as voice, for all of you, through your experiences as a voice actor, can you name one of your best experiences in a recording session and one of your worst experiences in a recording session?
All of us?
That's in every question.
I'll start that.
The best and the worst?
Best and the worst. Best was my first time walking in to record on the new Thundercats. Because it was my first time on the Warner Brothers Ranch lot out in Burbank, and it was my first time working with Andrea Romano, who is a legend in the industry, and the rest of the cast I've adored for years. Will Friedle, Kevin Michael Richardson, Dee Baker, Corey Burton. These are all people that I've looked up to for so long, so to walk in there and just have all of them condensed around me I was waiting for security to force me out of the room and be like, how'd he get in there? He's not supposed to be here. But on top of being very nervous, it was also it was incredible to watch them work, and I learned so much just being around them and working with them there that day is still so vivid in my mind and so inspiring now. So that's definitely one of the best experiences I've had. Worst experiences, done a couple game projects with the company that shall remain anonymous, with the director that shall remain anonymous, that every single time I go to record, it's the definition of earning a paycheck. Because his or her direction of style tends to push towards really bad community theater or like middle school theater, and so like you'll give an honest read, and then they'll go over the mic and be like, "That was good, but can you make the second word more gritty and angry, but like by the end of it bring levity to it?" You're like, okay, and then you do a read that sounds awful, try and do it. You're like, that doesn't work. Like, no, that's good, we got it. Like, no. And so, you know, that's happened a few times.
I know you.
I don't have a lot of, I guess the same experience was both my best and my worst because of how emotional it was. I got to work on the show Steins Gate, for those of you that are familiar with it. It's a very emotionally intense show, and I played not only the main character, who is the main character by dint of being in every single scene, because the whole show is told through his perspective, and he never shuts up. So it was a very intense recording schedule, you know, going for 8 hours a day, and he's always at 10, this character, so, you know, it was just always exhausting. Rewarding, because the director, Colleen Klingenbrand, I was working with, was really incredible. But I also got to work on the show as an adaptive scriptwriter, along with Patrick Seitz, who most of you probably know as Germany from Italia. He's also a wonderful writer, and we got to work together bringing that show to English. And it's a good show. It's easily the best thing I've ever gotten to be a part of. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen, period, because it's just amazingly conceived, and the animation is wonderful, the characterizations are just spot on. It's just a great piece of drama/comedy. But it gets really, really real, and there's a very real scene about halfway through where the main character has a very severe mental breakdown, or just an emotional breakdown, and he's crying. Right. And
It's Wednesday again.
So he's basically, I mean, the show is all about time travel and kind of the consequences of what happens when you know these kids start kind of messing around with the timelines and stuff, and it's very realistically handled, so the way it plays out is very believable. And you know, there's a scene, which I won't give anything away, but basically he's in the backseat of this car. For those of you that have seen the show, he's in the backseat of this car, basically screaming and crying and pleading for the life of his friend at peril to his own, because he knows what's going to happen. He knows there's nothing he can do about it. He's seen it before, and yada, yada, yada. And it's a really, really tough scene. The original Japanese actor just nails it, and so working on that scene as an adaptive writer and watching it and writing, you know, adapting the scene, just crying, oh my God, this is so powerful. This is a really great moment.
Runners, gate 3. Runners, gate 3. Security. Runners, gate 3. Runners, gate 3. Runners, gate 3. Alert.
They were out with the Steins Gate reference. They're like, we're not talking about this. So anyway, I had to work on the show as an adaptive writer, which means I would spend about my day. There's a lot of overlap there between the recording and the adapting process. So I would be in the booth for 8 hours a day for 4 months straight, and then come home and have like 5 hours of writing work to do on the same show. So I never got away from it. It was just always this intense emotional experience, either writing it or performing it. And so when the time came to do that particular scene, which I was already feeling nervous about because I'd seen it well in advance and thought, oh my God, I don't know if I have the chops for this. I just kind of had a moment in the booth, those really weird psychotic moments you occasionally have as an actor where you suddenly just lose yourself in it. And I started crying and blubbering and like having kind of a proper freak out. And Colleen was like, sweetie, we want Michael back now. Let's rein it in. Why don't you go out, walk around, splash some water in your face, you know, drink something. And so I did, and I came back and I was like, all right, we have to do the scene again. And I was like, okay, let's do this again. We have to record the scene all over. And I mean, I was shaking and just like, I was a wreck. And I'm not a crier, really. But I was that day. And I got back in and she's like, well, honey, we've got good news. If you're comfortable with it, we can use what we've got. And I'm like, yes, please do. I don't want to do it again. So if you actually want to hear me having a mental breakdown, it's what they use in the final cut of the adaptation. So that best and worst day, an emotional breakdown, but then knowing that, wow, that's some of the best stuff I've ever done. And I never want to do it again. Ever. It was just too much. But yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Crap, I knew it would come to me. Most fun, I think one of best certainly would have been my first episode of Robot Chicken. Yeah. I'm the unicorn, for those of you kids who don't know. Here to make mom and dad uncomfortable with what you're watching. Unicorn sounds remarkably like Space Ghost, but hey, it's a paycheck, what do I care? So, this is never my luck. It's always like I'll get a producer who's like, well, I sat with the famous person. In the beginning on Space Ghost, I had a lot of the famous people. Like, first 30 interviews were me. But I never get to actually work with another famous actor. And my first session with Robot Chicken and my second and I think my third were all with Seth Green. And Seth was like, God, that's creepy. And here's how you can make it creepier. It was when the unicorn comes riding up to the nerd's window. And it's like, they ride over the little hill and he's like, it's everything I ever dreamed it would be. And my line was, in the magical land of unicorns, there's no need for clothing. Well, the nerd starts ripping it off. And I think I originally read it like, no, take it off slowly. That pleases me. And he's like, a little faster. My only direction was like a little faster and more of a beat before he goes. So ultimately his way was, no, take it off slowly. That pleases me. So that would have been like the best. Although there was one time, this is back when I had William Morris. Those guys, man, the first million you make as an agent at William Morris, they send you into surgery to have your gills removed. And Morris called one day, and they're like, we got this thing for you on Fox. I had done some stupid contest for a station like in the middle of nowhere. Well, they won the contest. It was like a national competition for promos. Anyway, they got me just a ridiculous amount of, that was a pretty good day too. Like, I went in and said, tomorrow, read the promo once, and then it was like an hour of tomorrow on Fox 13, tomorrow on Fox 21, tomorrow on Fox 4, tomorrow on Fox 9, tomorrow on Fox 8, tomorrow on Fox 32. Can we have it today? Tomorrow, today on Fox 13, today on Fox 8, today on Fox 31.
It's like the count-off of
So that was a pretty good day because they got me $20,000 for an hour of that. So that was really good. That was one of the, I know, that was what, this is what it's like. And then, you turn around and then somebody gives you $200 to rip your throat out. You say never again. The worst. Gird your grits for the worst because it happened in my own studio. And I used to have a really nice entrance to my control room where a friend of mine who was an old retired record guy named Otis Ellis, there's a song called 96 Tears. Otis retired in Spring Hill, Florida. My first studio was in Brooksville, Florida. I had, air quotes please everyone.
A band.
I had a band. It was a mom, her Walgreens plastic guitar, my hand to God. The kid who was setting up mics for me looked at me and said, what do I do with the chord organ? It was like a Magnus that they used to sell at Eckerd Drugs, where you turn it on, it sounds like the hand blower in the toilet. In comes Otis, who always had a pinky ring and a cigar. Otis comes up and he said, I show you no secret. Just keep nodding. Because they're looking at me like the Partridge Family. They're waiting for Ruben in the booth to go, hey, great job, guys. You're really rocking now. Otis walks up and says, I show you no secret. Just keep nodding. Big cigar, pudgy little fingers, they looked like kielbasa's. And had like a 6-carat diamond on the pinky. He goes, just keep nodding. Reaches down, never saw my board, turns the monitors off, said, just keep nodding till they're done. And that was my worst. That was my worst session. Wow. Plastic, if you've ever tried to mic a plastic instrument, God bless you.
Next question, ready, go!
Yes, this is a question for all of you as well. When you do like really like intense scenes where you're having to yell a lot and stuff, how do you like keep your voice in check? How do you keep yourself from losing your voice?
I tell the
When
producer to
doing
go to
takes
hell.
over and over again.
That's how I do it. You want screaming, record yourself tonight with your girlfriend there.
That's crying.
It's saucy. It's I think I love you, George. It's interesting. Like it's when you're doing really, really intense stuff. It depends on the director. Now, hopefully, you've got a director that understands. Mike McFarlane is a great example of the best kind of director to work for the really intense vocal shredding stuff because Mike McFarlane belongs to the club of anyone who's ever recorded on Dragon Ball Z. So he knows from screaming, and he, so he was really careful. Like a great example would be like, if you had a really tough voice, Scar, for example, in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, was kind of a tough voice. He's very, very low for me, very gravelly, and it takes a toll on your throat. So he would make sure to only have me come in like 2-hour intervals and not ever back-to-back days. That way we could spare my voice and just do a little bit at a time. When you don't have that option, when they're like, okay, we have like 3 hours of work for you and this character only screams and it has to be done today, which seems like every video game session I've ever done ever. Like, does no one just enjoy each other's company quietly in video games anymore? No, everyone's always screaming. And
Video games.
those are tough, and you usually, you usually have to hope that you don't have 2 days, consecutive days of that, or if you do, you just drink lots of tea and honey. Lots of these little concoctions you find, like, your best friend now is everyone who's ever had a session like this. Like, what do you do? Like, well, there's this Chinese stuff. It's like cough syrup, and it tastes like Karo syrup mixed with grape Kool-Aid, and it's amazing. And it's disgusting, but it works. And it's like, and you have to go to like to the store at the beginning of Gremlins to find it. And there's an old man with a pipe going, "Oh, you are not ready," and you're like, that's the only place you can get this stuff. Or like they'll tell you, oh, okay, you like mix orange juice with like honey and apple cider vinegar. It tastes like ass. It actually makes you fart all night long, but your voice will be great. That works too. There's no easy out. There's always a price to be paid. But I don't know. Most of the time, you just hope that the session will be really, really quick, and then you kind of develop your technique enough so that you can scream and just get everything in one take. So because there's nothing worse than the guy that's at the control panel going, "That was awesome. Could you scream a little more, but make the first part gritty and give levity by the end of it?" Then you're just like, no. But most directors understand. I passed out in the booth for Mike McFarlane once because I had to scream and there was no way around it. It was a 9-second scream, full voice, and the character's face was on the whole time, and it was CG, so it was very particular looking. It wasn't very stylized so that you can get away with and like stitch several screams together in one. It had to be very real. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I've never screamed that long in my life. And he's like, "You can do this, let me show you." And Mike gets in there, and of course Mike can scream for like a day. And it's like, "Brr!" And you're like, okay, well now I have to do it, because it's like going to the gym with some guy. It's like, "Oh, you can only do 40? And you're like, "Oh shit, give me a 50, So I have to go in and do this, and like it took 3 takes, and by the 3rd take, like every time I'm like, do we get it? 1 second off. Shit! So more water, more tea, go back in for another one, and then the last time I finally made it to like 9.5 seconds. I wanted to give them just a little playroom in case they wanted to clip anything on the ends, and I was like, and then the world just went dark. And then I woke up just to be like landing on my butt, like in the booth, and Mike opens up the booth, and he's like, "You okay?" I'm like, Did we get it? He's like, "We got it." I'm like, "Yes, thank God." He's like, "Welcome to the Dragon Ball Club."
I would have had to say, it's 6 frames over. If you got one more.
You got one more in you, buddy. Come on. You got it in you.
I mean, luckily for me, I had a really sweet deal at Turner because they knew they would read you pointlessly on 80 or 90 of the same thing just to annoy you, to try and get reactions. The master of trying to get stuff out of me was a guy named Matt Harrigan. Actually left us to go write for Letterman. You know you've got a great producer when the guy quits to go work for Letterman. Yeah. And his claim to fame at Letterman, I don't know if you ever saw the episode where, it was not an episode, it was an edition of the show where Bob Borden, the kid who worked in the mailroom, they sent Gordon to 4 Points. What is that, like Arkansas? I'm not geographically inclined. It's Kansas, Oklahoma.
I know what show about that, but it's
And the whole bit was he's going to eat a burrito in each state. So 4 times in the show, they go to my producer, who his big idea, and he got nominated for an Emmy. He shows up, this is his big idea. Matt was shrewd with me. He always saved the screaming for the very end because he knew I hated it. And he knew quite legitimately it would blow my voice out. He would have no Space Ghost if he blew me out. So we saved screams for the end. It was nothing too ridiculous. One time I had to do like you, where you wake up naked in the zoo with ox blood on your face the next morning. And what happened to me? Where am I? Who ordered the veal cutlet? And I had a couple of those. But yeah, we would save our screams for the end of the show. And Harrigan's the most brilliant thing he did. He'd be like, so he's one of these guys kind of Gen X, Gen X talk. Like, so what's new in Florida? How's the warehouse? My folly. I bought a warehouse once that I thought, hey, this will be my studio. They can see George Lowe Productions in like the worst part of town. My big thing, every month I had to pay the city to pick another dead body up behind the warehouse. It was like, oh, you got another one, Mr. Lowe. What do you want to do with it? Maybe you should call the coroner on this one. I can't just keep throwing him in the dumpster. But Matt would solicit stuff for me that way, and then the scream was always last. So the funny was circuitous funny, like, what happened in Florida? And honest to God, we had one of those moments. I went in, I had a handyman doing something downstairs at the warehouse, and he said, ring, ring, ring. This is the call you don't want, kids. Ring, ring, ring. I found bones. Swear to God, the next thing you know, there are like 60 cop cars around the warehouse, coroner, everybody, and finally somebody comes out and goes, it was like a dog from the 20s. But I'm like, the dog must have weighed 300 pounds because it looked like hobo bones. But that was it. Anyway, that's my answer for whatever I was.
Your turn.
My turn. Yeah, I am screaming a lot in a lot of games. Tea helps, throat coat. That strange concoction of Chinese coffee we were talking about called Ninjiom Pepakoa. Yeah. Well, a lot of us refer to it as Hulk juice or Fred juice because it was introduced to a lot of the industry via a voice actor named Fred Tatasciore, who works in a lot of animation, but he does the voice of the Hulk for all of Marvel stuff, and so that was his way of not bursting into flames every session after going Hulk smash for 3-4 hours. But yeah, those really help, and it's a technique thing too. You learn to not put the stress directly on the vocal cords more than the actual meat of the throat surrounding it, and that gives you a little more time with the screaming use and preventing you from taking too immediate damage. So, yeah. All right, Santa Senpai is going to field this one. Next question, ready, go!
I like that one.
Then take it to that one.
I will.
Good.
I'm a little fat. I'm very small.
How's your throat mate?
This is for all three of you. I was wondering, is there a movie that you like that nobody else seems to like?
All of us?
Why you gotta go there, man? Why you gotta bring the room down? No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Think carefully on this one.
Whiplash. It's not a comedy.
Whoa. I think okay, a movie that we love, but we love everyone else we know doesn't like hate.
There's a lot of movies that everyone else seems to love that I hate, because I'm kind of that guy. I'm like, oh, you like that? Plebeian. But I don't know. I can't think of a lot of movies. Most of the movies I really, really like, if people that I know haven't even seen them, because I like the obscure indie stuff. I don't know. I just do. Nothing.
Oh, that movie. The Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, and more.
Nothing but Trouble?
Yep.
With the giant babies and and John Candy and drag?
The penis nuts. Yep.
Okay, all of you
see that one?
All of you go check out the movie Nothing But Trouble. That was one. Oh my God, I'm flashing back.
I'm here for you.
I had to go. Okay, I was working for my school newspaper at the time as their film critic. Like that, we were such a sophisticated newspaper. We had a film critic. We went to like they'd give us free passes to the local movie theater, and I could go to, and I had to review Nothing But Trouble, and I thought it was funny because I just went. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen because it's very weird. It doesn't hold up to subsequent viewings. But it's weird. It's a Dan Aykroyd movie, and Dan Aykroyd's a weird guy. And they just gave him money and said, make a movie. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna make this movie about these rich people that get pulled over in this weird little nothing town that turns out to love to kill traffic violators. And it's weird. It's weird. It doesn't know whether it wants to be a comedy or a horror movie or something in between. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's like the Addams Family's Values film meets the Blues Brothers. It's so bizarre.
He set decorated with folk art that he wanted. Anybody who's ever walked in a House of Blues, that's him. He loves folk art, and they're partners, they're big money partners. But if you also watch the movie, when the drawbridge is going down and they're headed into that area, on the right there's this huge cutout wood angel, Howard Finster, who since Grandma Moses is like the most famous American self-taught artist. And there's another one when they get into the salvage yard proper, right in front of the old courthouse. There's this weird beat-up couch with all these refrigerators and stuff piled around it. Well, just next to that, there's another wood cutout of, it looks like Hercules, but it's supposed to be Howard Finster holding the earth on his shoulders. And I'm just sitting there counting the things that I know Aykroyd set decorated with, wrote off as production costs, and took home. And that's what happens when you got Dan Aykroyd money, because it's like, I gotta have these 15 things over here, I gotta have them. And they use them on the set just so they can say, that's used in the production.
Well, that's one of the really weird things about the movie is that it's not, I wouldn't call it a good movie, but like the set design is amazing because it all takes place in this weird kind of mansion-y, like this old haunted mansion type thing, like in the middle of this gigantic junkyard. Oh my God! Please go. Okay, I'm gonna count that movie because Nothing But Trouble. I loved when it came out.
Best Dan Aykroyd story you'll ever hear.
Please,
he's insane. He's really, I mean, he truthfully is nuts. He was rich before he ever got to Saturday Night Live. He already owned bars in Canada because when I met him, he said, you know, I used to make more than the Canadian PM. And I was like, you're kidding. He said, now I had bars. I make a hell of a drink. Well, we had him on in Atlanta. I had the #1 morning show in Atlanta. We had him on. And he had been up like till 2 or 2:30 in the morning shooting Driving Miss Daisy. So instead of going home and trying to sack out for an hour at Four Seasons or wherever they had him, he starts driving around Atlanta, ends up near the station at a bar that was a 24-hour club in Buckhead called The Spot. I said, what'd you do after you wrapped? I went to The Spot. And I go, what do you know from The Spot? I went in there, they're awesome. I said, what'd you do? I started bartending. So from like 3 in the morning until 5:30, whenever they started pushing people out, Aykroyd, can you imagine going in there like you're on your 4th bender at like 3 in the morning, you head into the spot, and, hey, the bartender really looks like Dan Aykroyd. And he came straight to us after that, and just like in the movie, all those police badges that turn around, I'm looking at his Mercedes. Walk out with him. I said, listen, it's great having you on the show. Thanks for coming. He gives me his number. If you're ever in LA, come on out. We'll have a drink. We'll get some food. Gives me his assistant's number. I look in the rear window of his Mercedes. There's a Chicago police hat. Kids, my hand to God, it had like 25 police badges wrapped all the way around that checkered band from every place he went speeding through at 110, 120 miles an hour in his thoroughly jazzed up Mercedes. Because he likes to speed. And ultimately you get pulled over. And when he rolls the window down, the first thing is, oh my God. And he's like, how you doing? What can I do for you, officer? I guess I was going too fast again. Covered into, that's my Dan Aykroyd story, I'll shut up.
Oh my God, that's good story.
And please, all of you, go check out Nothing But Trouble. It's probably one of the weirdest movies you'll ever see. And you're like, wow, like John Candy, the late great John Candy in drag. In drag. He plays brother and a sister. Eldona. Oh my God.
She's mute. Oh, she's so quiet. No, she's mute. Struck dumb at birth by a thunderclap.
Oh my God. Eldona.
neck quarters.
So, I mean, can you imagine shooting Driving Miss Daisy and then you go and attend bar until it's time for the radio interview? I want that life.
I've used this entire time to try and think of a movie that I like that nobody else does. I know a divisive movie that other people love or hate that I absolutely love, and a lot of people I've had conversations don't like it, and that's the David Wayne film Wet Hot American Summer, which is one of my favorite comedies of all time. But it's a very absurdist comedy, and people either understand it and love it, or think it's the biggest piece of trash in the world. And I've had many, people got angry when they found out that I liked that movie. They've been like, how? How can you like that? And they get very emotionally invested in how it doesn't make sense that I like it, but it's one of my favorite comedies. I have art from an art gallery that put on at Santa Monica years ago about it. But oh, it's a great film. We'll watch it and you'll hate it, and we'll both have this argument.
Isn't it funny how weird people get over movies that they like and no one else or how offended people are if they know that someone they like enjoys something they think is horrible? It's I don't know, every other instinct, it's only with movies and books and things, because say you have a disgusting drink and you're like, oh my god, that's disgusting, you should taste that. Their first instinct is to share it, right? But if they like it, you're like, what the hell's wrong with you? Oh, we can't be friends anymore. Why? Because you like Beetlejuice and I think it's the worst movie ever made. People will not be friends with you anymore because of your taste in movies. What a weird thing. Has anyone ever stopped being friends with someone because they liked a movie or didn't like a movie that was very important to you? That's stupid.
How freaking shallow are you?
No, I just love the fact that whenever any one of those conversations happens, the author or creator is somewhere in their mind going, yes, I'm getting a reaction. Yes, I'm a homewrecker. Okay, so we have time for one more question if it lasts like that one did. 'Cause good lord. Hey, Dan Aykroyd's story was awesome. So. Copyright George Lowe, 2015. And that's the favorite role you've ever played.
I forgot the question. There are people here. Where did these people come from? Why are you in my living room? Space Ghost, followed by Brack's father, followed by the unicorn, followed by anything that pays me now like FX. The Lead. Catch season 7 coming soon.
I ruined the panel.
No, not at all.
I made this panel.
You brought life to it. You breathed sweet fire into its belly.
Sweet fire. To answer your question best I can, in a similar way to it's hard to pick and rank based on each character's connected at a certain point in your life and a certain part of you. I had personal love of stepping into the role of Leon Kennedy because I was such a fan of Resident Evil for such a long time leading up to that, and a fan of the character, that it was simultaneously very inspiring and very daunting. This is one thing to be like, oh my god, I'm now taking over the role of one of my favorite characters ever. Oh boy, better not mess this up, kind of a mentality. But yeah, that was a particular, I'll say it, it's a particular nerd boner for me.
There they go.
There you go.
Alright. So it is 12:56. You guys have signing at 1. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If anyone wants to have anything signed, talk to them or anything, they're over in the dealer's room signing. Give them about 10 minutes to get over there. So yeah, thanks for coming out, guys. We will see you later. Thank you, guys. Once again, J. Michael Tatum, George Lowe, and